Welcome everybody back to the VODs channel. In today's stream, I did something a little bit different. Today, I taught my chat all about the world of animals. All my favorite animals. We're talking peregrine falcons, eyes, cheetahs, all the good ones. I hope you guys do enjoy the VOD. Please make sure to watch all the way through. Make sure to leave a like on the video and subscribe to the channel. This is my new VODs channel. It's only been up for about a week now, so I hope you guys will enjoy the content. This is all the VODs from my streams, so if you miss a stream, you can just come in here, watch it, and chill out while you're doing homework or something, and have a good time. Alright, we should be live by now. What's up, guys? I forgot what time it was. I had to eat dinner. I had to wait for the pizza to get done, so it's like 5:30 and I meant to see it started at 5. I also forgot to add the animations to the text on the amazing slideshow I'm going to be showing you guys today. That's right. If you guys don't know, I have an affinity for learning about animals. Why? I don't know. That and history, I don't know. Maybe I'm a geek for that. But I've always loved history and animals. So I looked up some facts on my favorite animals and I put together a little slideshow for you guys. And then after we're done with that, I found a little nature documentary for us that we can all watch together. So I'm like super excited about this. I had to get it all ready, and now it's ready. I put some common animals, some more like one of them is probably more common, and the other ones are a little more obscure, at least from what most people probably know about animals. But I wanted to change up the content, so I decided that I'm gonna talk about animals, do something I really like. And I was like, how can I share my passion of animals? And I'm like, hey, what if I make a little PowerPoint presentation that has all of some of my favorite animals and I teach you guys about them. So that's what we're gonna do. I got this little music in the background, sway a little bit. I'll turn it down one notch here. There we go. All right. Let's get started. I don't even want to waste any time. I am so excited about this. You guys don't even know. I don't even care that there's not a whole lot of live viewers. I literally just have been wanting to do this since the beginning of the week, since I came up with the idea. So, let me switch us over here to this. And then I'll change the property so that's on the right one. So I'm going to do this one. Let me quickly resize it. Scuff stream. Man, this thing really just... That'll fix the problem. Alright. Let's get started. I am so excited about this. Where can I move this? I'm gonna move this here. Yeah. How do I want to do this? Let's see how that is. Let me actually go like this and put it on my center one, because then it'll be easier for me to see. There we go. Alright. You can tell I really put this together beforehand. Alright, let's start the slideshow here. Here we go. Welcome everyone to the wonderful world of animals. That's right everyone. Jeez, why is this music so loud? It's like if I even put it on a little bit. Hold up. I need to turn down the volume. Hold up. There we go. Alright, now we're ready. Definitely not a scuff stream, definitely not a scuff stream. Okay. Welcome everyone to the wonderful world of animals. Our first animal, if you can see it here, I think everyone probably knows what this is. This here is a cheetah. Now, as most people probably know, cheetahs are the fastest land animal in the world out of anything for pure just top speed, not top speed and endurance. I would say top speed and endurance on land anyways, for things that are on the ground, would probably be the pronghorn antelope, and I might do that in another slideshow. But cheetahs, if you didn't know, they can run at a maximum speed of up to 70 miles per hour, which is pretty fast. Some people say 70 to 80, but we'll say somewhere around in there. Cheetah mothers, interestingly enough, they make these chirping sounds. Kind of sounds like a bird, and they use them to locate their cubs. So they'll make that chirping noise, and then the cubs will know to follow her around, because obviously they're like most young animals, where they'll wander around away from the mom. You know, they're playing around and everything, learning how to hunt and everything. So in order to keep them all together, she uses this chirping sound, because there's a lot of dangerous predators. You think about it, there's lions, jaguars, all different kinds of things that could potentially kill a young cub. Well, I mean, honestly, anything, especially in Africa, when it's young, is in danger of being killed. So that's what they do. They make a little chirping noise. They're pretty cool. Cheetahs, if you did not know, actually have very big hearts. Abnormally large hearts and lungs, because they need to pump blood and oxygen throughout their body. Because you think about it, they're sprinters. They do everything in like one shot, very short distances. They can maintain their top speed for around 45 seconds, and within that 45 seconds, they can cover over 500 feet at a time. So you think about it, they need to have a lot of blood and oxygen pumping throughout their body in order for them to maintain that for very long at all. So let's go to the next slide. A little more about the cheetah. The black lines, you can see them underneath here. You can see my cursor. You can see them underneath the eye here. It's kind of similar to, say, eye black that like baseball players or something like that, football players would use underneath their eyes. And what it does is it cuts the glare of the sun, so that if they're like looking out, like say for antelope or something else that they're trying to hunt, they can see them. And because they're obviously sprinters, they have to get up close. So if they can see the prey from a distance, stalk up to them, get within a short distance, and sprint because they're faster than anything else, they can easily take down an antelope or something around that size. Obviously, they're not the biggest cats, so it probably helps that they're the fastest, even though they're maybe not very good endurance runners. Cheetah cubs, I thought this was very cool when I first learned this. They've adapted, this one's a little too old, but the younger cubs have this white patch down their back, all the way from the like base of their head to the back is this white color. It's kind of got a little bit of black too. And what this does is this will mimic the look of a honey badger. So for about the first 90 days, so when they're really, really young, they'll have this, and then eventually you'll see they'll grow their fur like this, and then they'll eventually become an adult after a while. But yeah, this basically mimics the honey badgers, and no one wants to mess with a honey badger. And so if they're like, say they're laying in the grass and a lion or something sees them, they don't want to mess with a honey badger. So they're going to leave the cub alone for the most part. It's kind of just to trick animals. Not obviously, not always it's effective, but for the most part, it's very effective. And the average adult cheetah can live between 10 and 12 years, so probably around the age that most dogs would live, most dog breeds would live, 10 to 12 years, and they only weigh about 75 to 125 at the most. They're, like I said, they're very small compared to most things in their habitats, like lions or jaguars or anything else. They're very... You can't really tell from this, but they have very large chest cavities where they house their heart and lungs. So they have a really large. It like undulates underneath of them, and then the back end looks almost like they're anorexic. It's very skinny. And interesting enough, they have dew claws, basically like semi-retractable claws, like dogs. But with cheetahs, for the most part, unless they're on like really rough terrain, they'll have the claws extended out because they use it to dig into the ground when they're trying to go after a prey. But like I said, if they're going after a prey, like say it's an antelope or something like that, those antelope can go up to like 40 miles an hour. And yes, 70 miles is fast, but because of how maneuverable those gazelle are, they can get away from cheetahs. So what cheetahs want to do is they want to get as close as they can and then basically jump them so that they don't even have to worry about being outpaced, because obviously they can only go for a short burst of time. And like for instance with a cheetah mother, she has to fend for herself and she has to fend for her cub, and it takes a lot of energy to pump all that blood and stuff for them to run that fast. So they gotta maximize every single opportunity they can to get food. Especially because lions and stuff like that won't hesitate on trying to take their food. So they gotta be quick about when they kill it and when they eat it. Alright, our next animal, funny enough, is in a way related to our last slide. You know how I told you about cheetah cubs mimicking honey badgers? This is the honey badger. You can see right here, see that little white strip? The cheetah cubs have a very similar kind of white strip down their back that mimics this. When they're sleeping, all they see is that white strip down their back, and they do not want to mess with these guys. These guys are very, very aggressive. They do not care. They do not care. They will back down a lion. Lions don't even want to mess with these guys. Honey badgers are the largest species of weasel. They are in the weasel family, and they can be found all throughout Africa. That's where they're mostly at. So like I said, they're around the territory of where lions and jaguars, so they gotta be pretty tough for something so small and with very little defenses. So they really gotta be tough. Honey badgers, like I said, are part of the weasel family, so they're related to animals such as the North American badger. Everyone knows what that looks like. They got the two strips of white up their body, and they're kind of that brownish black. Everyone knows them. They're super wide, very well known, very long claws. They'll dig out their dens. And they're also, oddly enough, related to skunks. So for those of you who are in North America or other places where skunks are, kind of crazy. I mean, similar colors, definitely, the black and white. But interesting enough, with honey badgers, being that they are the cousin of the skunk, they have adapted these stink glands. They call it musk. and it's at the end of their tails. And what they'll do is they'll rub it on the ground and they'll use it to ward off people. They'll mark their territory, kind of like how dogs or things like that, or even lions would like pee somewhere to mark a territory. That's how a honey badger, who are very territorial animals, will mark their area. They'll put that musk on their tail, and they'll just mark their area, or they'll just use it to ward off predators. They're not exactly like skunks, where skunks, they have stink glands, but they don't like coat the end of their tail. They pee. Their pee is what they mix it in with their pee, and that's what makes the smell. Male honey badgers can get up to 3.5 feet long and weigh up to 35 pounds. So you think about it, very, very small creatures, not very big at all. So you think about it, like I said, they're facing lions, all these big predators. They got to be very tough. Like I said, they share habitats with predators such as lions, hyenas, jaguars, things like that, and they're very, very small, so they have to be very tough. Honey badgers, interestingly enough, can live into their 20s. I think they said around 24 is what they can get up to, so pretty long for what you might think. They can live pretty long. Especially with their defenses, they don't very easily get killed. Honey badgers, one of their main defenses, other than their skunk glands, is their very thick and loose skin. They have this very thick hide, and it's kind of loose to them. It's not like it's not like our skin, where unless you have like the condition that allows you to have stretchy skin, our skin doesn't really move anywhere. Theirs is very loose, so say a lion or something tries to bite into it. First of all, it's going to be hard to bite into anyways, but it's going to be loose, so they're not going to be able to quite grab it. So that's going to allow the honey badger to either run away or to set up a defense with their tail or the big claws. Their claws they're long, but definitely not the longest. I'd say a North American badger probably has longer claws because they dig a lot. They have 1.5-inch claws, but they'll use them for defense. They'll go after a lion or a jaguar, and they'll start clawing at them. They'll hiss at them. They'll bite at them. They're an animal that just does not give a crap. They will go after anything, and they don't even care. And they will use their claws kind of similar to a North American badger, and they will dig burrows, but a lot of the times what they'll do is, say a tree burned from the inside, if you've ever seen the inside of a tree burn, and then it'll be a hollow tree inside, and so sometimes they will actually use those rather than digging a burrow, because their claws aren't exactly the most well adapted for digging like a North American badger, so they'll use that, and that's where they'll house their babies. A little continuation of the honey badgers. Did I duplicate the same thing? Wait, hold up a second, chat. That's weird. It like did a double animation. Anyways, don't know what's going on with that. A little continuation on the honey badger. Honey badgers actually have a very rare symbiotic relationship. So that's a relationship between two different animal species that you usually wouldn't think. Like for instance, oxpeckers and rhinos. Oxpecker and rhinos have a lot of bugs and stuff in their ears and stuff, and oxpeckers will ride on top of them, eat the bugs. The rhinos will leave them alone. Similar to that, or like a cleaner fish, they clean the teeth of fish, like sharks, and the sharks won't eat them because they're getting their teeth clean. It's a similar kind of situation. But in the case of the honey badger, its symbiotic relationship is with a bird called a honey guide. I didn't know this about honey guides, but this is kind of separate. Honey guides are actually very endangered. And so, in saying that, they actually, a lot of the males have forgotten how to sing because there's not as many males being born. There's no one to teach the honey guides how to sing. So what the scientists have done is they'll create these machines that simulate the sound of a male honey guide, and so the babies will be able to figure out how to make that noise. They'll use it both for this symbiotic relationship, but they also use it as a mating call, like a lot of animals have mating calls. And that's really what the problem was, because they couldn't get any of them to breed because the boys didn't know how to sing. I can actually probably turn the music up a little bit. Alright. The honey guide bird, like the honey badger, this is the whole symbiotic relationship here. They love honey. Hence honey guide. And like a guide, they can actually they'll fly around, they'll find a hive, and honey guides, well, they have no way of getting into a hive like a honey badger would be able to. Honey badgers have claws and stuff, and they'd be able to get into it. But honey guides, they're just a little bird. What are they going to do? They're going to get stung and killed. So they'll go out, they'll find a hive, and what they'll do is they'll start making that noise that they've been forgetting to do, and they'll use, I think it's a different call, but they'll use this chirping noise, and it'll basically signal to the honey badger, hey, this bird's found food, so let me go follow it, and it'll follow it, and it won't mess with it. And then once the honey guide guides the badger to the hive, then it will let the badger break into the nest, and it won't get stung, but it's got pretty thick hide, and it just doesn't care, so it'll just dig in there, break it down, get in there, get all the honey out, and then they'll share the food, and so it gets a meal, it doesn't get hurt, the honey badger gets a meal, and so they go on their separate ways. And that's basically the symbiotic relationship. The honey guide will guide the badger to the hive, they'll both get food, they'll split off. I always thought that was really cool. Honey badgers are very, very aggressive predators. Very, very aggressive predators, and very, very aggressive towards anything else that will try to hurt them. They're very much known for that. Next up, we have an animal that a lot of people don't know about, but you'll know what it is once I make a little bit of a reference to something. This is actually my favorite animal. I should have prefaced this before going to this side, but this is probably my favorite animal in the world. I don't know why I love this animal, but I just do. I think they're so cool, all their adaptations and features. This is the sperm whale. This is the sperm whale. Their name actually derives from a white waxy substance within their head called spermaceta. They actually thought it was the whale sperm, but then they realized it's a completely different substance that is just within their head. I didn't see that there was any specific thing of what it was used for, but there is like a waxy kind of white substance in their head that's completely separate from that, and that's where they actually get the name. They are able to dive deeper than any single mammal, so blue whales, any other whale species that are mammals, because obviously whales are mammals, cannot nearly dive as much. They can actually hold their breath up to 2 hours and dive close to 3,000 meters. I'll look up what that is. Let me look what that is in feet. 3,000 meters to feet. I'll look this up for the Americans out there. That's almost 10,000 feet. That's 9,842 feet. So almost 10,000 feet below the surface, they'll hold their breath and they'll feed like any other whale. Interestingly enough, another big thing with them is they are known to have the largest intestinal tract of any animal. I know, kind of gross, but interesting enough to me. It can measure almost 1,000 feet in length if you just let it go all the way out. They have the largest intestinal tract of any animal, despite the fact that they're far smaller than, say, a blue whale or something else. I think they're about, I think it's like 3 or 8 times smaller than a blue whale, but their intestinal tract, they have a really large tract, and it's probably due to the food they eat. They really need to process it. They are found mostly in subarctic to Arctic waters. That's normally where they would be found, but they do migrate around the planet, so you can probably catch them in different oceans than just subarctic and Antarctic oceans. But yeah, that would be more of those cold climates is where you would find them, because that's where most of their food sources that they eat are. They can live up to 70 years old, so pretty old. Not as old as the blue whale. Blue whales can live up to 80 to 90 years, so not one of the older whale species, but can definitely age pretty old. They are the largest toothed whale species and the largest toothed whale predator on the planet. They have little teeth. If they open their mouth, they have little teeth that they use when hunting. And they are the largest toothed whale. Like I said, they dive down really deep for what they eat. A little continuation here. Sperm whales, like dolphins and other mammals that communicate underneath the water, kind of like orcas, communicate through a series of clicks that come through their big head. So I'm assuming that spermaceta actually probably has something to do with the vibrations and stuff in their head, kind of like how a dolphin would have like a melon in their head, and that's how they do it. I assume it has something to do with that. And they are considered one of the loudest, if not the loudest, animals in the world. Their frequencies have been clocked in from their clicks at 230 decibels. To give context, blue whales that are kind of the two top loudest animals only register in at about 188, 180. But they can get up to, they have the highest pitch, click, or noise of any animal, way outside of what we would be able to hear. The only thing that I'd say would give the blue whale an edge over sperm whales is that sperm whales are very short and lower frequency sounds. They're higher pitched, but they're a little bit lower frequency, like short bursts. And they'll use them to communicate, like, say, for instance, this sperm whale has its baby here, and so it would communicate with it. Say the baby was in trouble, it'd communicate to the mom would come to the rescue and save it, because there are predators that would try to kill this. Orcas, interestingly enough, I said something about them eating or having the same kind of click language, actually will gang up on sperm whales. A lot of times, there are sperm whale families, but a lot of times the big bulls will live on their own, and they can get killed by swarms of orcas. Much like really any other animal. But unless the sperm whales are like in a big pack, or the orcas are just trying to go straight for the baby, they're normally pretty solitary. Uh, and like I said, they're probably the second loudest realistically, other than like pure decibels, because the sperm whales have a lot higher frequency and a lot just generally louder sound, even though it's a little bit lower on the decibel range. Sperm whales also hold the record for the largest jaw of any animal. You can't really see it from here, but it goes from about here to around here on them. So it reaches 16 feet 5 inches. So if you were to get inside of that, that jaw is larger than any human. It could fit Robert Wadlow, the largest man in the world that ever lived. Interestingly enough, from Illinois. I always thought that was cool. But you would not be able to escape if it got you in its mouth. You would be crushed. That thing's got crazy powerful jaws. And some of their main prey, as you can see here, they'll eat octopus, they'll eat cuttlefish, other kinds of octopi, and things like that. And they'll even eat giant and colossal squid. Colossal squid have only been found recently in these past, I'd say like 10, 15 years or something like that. And they're the largest species. And this next fact actually goes along with the colossal squids. Colossal squids, on their tentacles or their arms, they have these serrated hooks that they'll use to rip into a sperm whale if it's like a one-on-one fight versus a big giant colossal squid versus a sperm whale, and they'll have like big battles underneath. And you'll see sometimes, this one's not really got them, but a lot of the older ones, especially the bulls, will have up here on the front, they'll have a bunch of scars on their face, you can see, from their battles deep down, because those colossal squids and a lot of squids are way low down, so they got to be able to dive. So they'll go up like any whale, they'll get air in their blowhole, and then they'll dive back down, and they can dive super far down into like midnight zone level. So not quite like, or twilight, sorry. I think twilight's before midnight. Midnight's like the lowest of those, but they can get into like some of the lower regions of the twilight zone and eat those big squids and stuff that'll hang down in there. And that's a big meal for them. They obviously eat a lot. You can see they're pretty big. But this is where you'll probably most likely know what a sperm whale is. You may not have known it was a sperm whale. But the famous book Moby Dick by Herman Melville is actually based on a albino sperm whale, so a white sperm whale, which are very rare. You won't see them a lot. Sometimes I've seen pictures of belugas. I think there's even like some blue whales that are albinos. It's not the most common thing. Not that it normally is, but especially in whales, you won't see it a lot. But they can be albino. They look kind of like belugas, if you know what a beluga whale looks like. They'll look kind of like that, and they'll get that white coloration, and that's what the book Moby Dick was actually based off of, was a giant white sperm whale. Our next animal on the list is something probably a lot of people don't know about, but you'll understand why you'd almost kind of be surprised people wouldn't know about them. This is a peregrine falcon. Peregrine falcons are known as the fastest birds in the world. Honestly, the fastest animals in the world. When they dive, so say they're getting up and ready to pounce on a prey, they'll get super high in the air and they'll dive down. And they can dive up to 200, up to 240 miles per hour as they're going down on their prey. They are by far the fastest animal at their top speed. Nothing else even comes close. The closest thing I believe, to them is a species of bat. I believe they're called the short-tailed bats. I can look it up here. Let me look it up. I believe it's the short-tailed bats. Short-tailed bats. What are they called? Let me see. Fastest animals, I believe. If I look it up, I do believe it is... Let me see. Where is it at? It's not on this list. There's a list I looked at. And if I can find it here... Let me see. Okay, this one doesn't have it. Where is it at? There's a list I was looking at the fastest animals in the world. And there is an animal... Yeah, the Mexican free-tailed bats. Mexican free-tailed bats, if we're talking just like normal flying, so let's say like just like this, not swooping down, are the second fastest animals in the world. And they can fly up to 100 miles an hour. These free-tailed Mexican bats. But in terms of like full top speed at their max, at their apex, the peregrine falcon over doubles the speed of the second fastest animal in the world. And nothing else even comes close. I think there's like the frigate falcon. I believe it's called the frigate falcon. Is that what they're called? Yeah, the frigate bird. That are, for their size, I believe it's for their size, they have the longest wingspan of any in terms of a ratio. But yeah, the peregrine falcons are the fastest birds in the world. They have very good vision. A bit of a misnomer, you've ever heard the term eagle vision. Eagles don't really have the best vision. They're just very good at seeing movement. But in the case of the peregrine falcons, they actually have very good binocular vision. And they can see up to 8 times better than the human eye. And they can even see prey up to close to 2 miles away. I think it's like 3 kilometers in European measurement, but yeah, almost close to 2 miles away, so very far away. And why I said that I'm surprised more people don't know about them is they're actually the most prevalent bird on the planet. When you look them up, if you look at the little Wikipedia thing, there's like a scale on which animals are for like how endangered they are, and they're in the category on the very, very far end that says little concern. They are the most widespread found bird out of any birds, but I guess no one just talks about them, interestingly enough. But yeah, they can be found on every continent but Antarctica. So anywhere where it's super, super cold, so North, South Pole, you won't find them, but you'll find them in different areas. And depending on where they're at, they'll actually look a little bit different. So this is probably more like what you'd see in like a city or something like that, like North America. But in some different regions, you'll actually see them, and their little head feathers will actually be a little puffed up. And sometimes they'll look a little bit different, like the way they're colored, depending on where they're actually from. But they can be found just about anywhere, and they're very, very prevalently found. And speaking of that, the reason why they're probably found just about anywhere is because they're well adapted to live in any climate. They'll actually even make their nests on big, big, tall skyscrapers. They'll make their nests. And they'll make their nests on water towers. They'll make them on cliffs. They'll make them on anywhere where they could make a nest. Any kind of tall structure, because it's a good place to keep your babies, because nothing else can really get up that high to hunt them. Hunt their eggs or anything. And generally they're very good about guarding their nests. The male and females will take turns taking care of them. Though I'd say, like most birds, the females are probably take more of the load in terms of how much hunting and taking care of that they do. But their diet, the reason why they'll actually swoop up really high in the air and then come down is because they eat a lot of smaller birds. So most of their diet is birds. Sometimes they'll eat like rodents, but a lot of times it's smaller birds. So in like a city, they would eat pigeons, some kind of waterfowl like ducks or something, like say it was like a public park or something. And they'll even eat like different songbirds. They'll eat basically anything they can get their talons on. You can see their talons, they're pretty long. They're probably an inch and a half long talons. Probably not the longest talons, but enough to where they could snatch a fish, they could snatch small birds or anything like that. Anything that they could really take down. And they're coming in at 240, so not very many things. They'll either like completely miss or they'll just destroy, crush whatever they hit, because they're hitting them at 240 miles an hour. You can only imagine. Our next animal, something that some people might know, some people might not know. They're not the most known. You can see them here. It's kind of a desert area. This is known as the caracal. They are a medium-sized cat. They're part of the smaller class, but they're probably more like a medium size for big cats. And they are native to parts of most of Africa, parts of Asia, parts of the Middle East. So this one probably, I would assume, is somewhere Middle East, maybe somewhere in Asia, where it's really arid. You can see it's kind of on some sand and there's like some bushes in the back. So I would assume this is maybe a Middle Eastern caracal. They are the heaviest and the fastest of all the small cat species. So like I said, they're about medium sized for what a cat would be, but they're still considered in that lower class of small cats and not like the big cats like a lion or something like that. We're talking clouded leopards, smaller wild cats like a lynx or something like that. They're the biggest of that class of species, and they can run up to 50 miles an hour, so they can chase down basically anything in their environment that's a reasonable size for them to catch, or just generally like escaping from something like a lion, because they do live in Africa. They're very easily recognizable if you see them because of the long tufts of black hair here. Some people think that it helps them blend in the grass. Some people think that they use it for communication. They'll flick them. And they'll use it in communication, but they're not quite sure. Some people have even said maybe they use the hair kind of like lynx do, where they have that tuft of hair and they use it for sound. So it'll like move the hair around and they'll be able to hear things. They actually have 50 muscles in their ears, just in their ears, that basically help them satellite dish around to hear their prey from anywhere. If you can tell, their back legs are actually, you can't really tell in this picture, but their back legs, this foot part, is actually longer than the front legs. And the reason for that is they have very powerful hind legs for jumping, and they'll even climb cliffs and stuff like that in their environment. And they can jump up to 10 to 12 feet in the air, and they'll actually snatch birds, like for instance guinea fowls, anything like that they could get close to. They'll basically stalk them like a cheetah in the grass, and then boom, they'll pounce out. And if any of the birds try to escape in the air away from them, if they don't get them on the initial jump, they'll just jump in the air and swat them out of the air, and that'll be their meal. So they can run really fast with those hind legs, and they can jump and climb just about anywhere. Caracals, like a lot of animals, are like not probably the most common thing in cats, but some bigger cats. They are very solitary creatures. The only reason that you would see them in a group would be a mom with her babies, or if it was like mating season, and it would just be the two. But that would be the only reason. They all have separate territories, kind of like a lion, but they don't live in prides. They'll have their territories. So male territories actually can overlap a lot of times, but female territories are always solitary. It's always completely female. There's no overlap. Females are very, very territorial. The only reason they would be seen with a male is just during mating, and that's it. And they would just be by themselves, hunting and everything on their own, and you wouldn't ever see them. Caracals, you'll see this one. This one's actually during the day, but a lot of times they are very nocturnal hunters. Their eyes are specially adapted for the night. It's not like that orange color you would normally see, like for something that's adapted for the nighttime, but they can see well in the night. They have very good hearing, so even if they didn't have the best sight in the night, they would be able to hear everything that's going on. They got those satellite dish ears, those 50 muscles in their ears, so they can hear just about anything. But sometimes, like I said, you'll see them during the day. Their diets, like I said, they're the fastest of the smaller cats, so sometimes they can even catch antelopes. Antelopes can get up to 40 miles an hour in terms of how fast they are, but they can catch antelopes. They'll catch rodents, birds. They'll even catch, say, in areas of Asia, they can even catch small monkeys and a bunch of like smaller creatures. Smaller to medium-sized creatures is what they'll normally eat. So anything that's like a grazer. And the last one, I had to save some nightmare fuel till the end. This is a creature not a lot of people will know. Probably the most obscure out of all the animals I will show. This is known as the eye. Not spelled E-Y-E, but A-Y-E. Eye. These are amazing creatures. These are super cool. They look kind of scary, but they're not super, super aggressive. They're very passive creatures. Like I said, they're called the eye. They are a species of long-fingered lemurs. A lot of scientists thought they were rodents because of the way their teeth are and the way their mouth is shaped. They thought they were a rodent family, but they say they're more related to like monkeys or lemurs or stuff like that that live in the trees. You can see it right here. This one lives in the trees. And their fingers, if you can see that very middle one here, see how it's really, really long? They're known for their very long nails that they'll use to get bugs. Their diets consist of eating seeds and fruits, things that they would find in the trees. They mostly live in the trees, and insect larvae. And what they'll do, I believe they're the only thing in the lemurs, or like monkeys, things that live in they're the only creatures that live in the trees like this, that actually use echolocation, or a form of echolocation. So what they'll do is they'll use that big long finger and they'll tap on the tree, and sometimes the trees are a little hollow inside, and so bugs will burrow into the trees, and they'll tap that, and if they hear the vibrations inside, they can pinpoint whether something's in there or not, and then they'll use that long finger, they'll go in the hole and the tree branch, and they'll use it to fish out the larvae of big beetles and stuff like that, and then they'll eat them. Because like I said, they eat fruits, seeds, things like that, and insect larvae. Man, I did not realize how short that music was gonna be. I always forget how short that is. Anyways, back to the music. Like I said, they're very similar, and scientists thought they were rodents, but they're actually closer to monkeys and things like that. But the reason why they're very similar to rodents is actually their incisor teeth, kind of how the front teeth on a beaver won't actually wear down by eating what they eat and constantly eating. Things like seeds and fruits and something that'll wear down their teeth, their incisors never stop growing, so they constantly have to be biting or eating or chewing on something in order for their teeth to wear down, or else, you know, it would obviously like puncture them somewhere, and that wouldn't be healthy. They actually have, oddly enough, you can't see the back of them, but they have specially adapted opposable big toes. Their big toes, for some reason, are opposable, kind of like how our thumbs, where it's like the joint, like that, where it's like the ball socket, and they'll use them to dangle from the trees. They can actually hang off of their feet and dangle from the trees, and they won't fall out. They also, if you can tell, see their big orange, kind of yellowish eyes. These are perfectly adapted. These are nocturnal hunters, kind of similar to the caracal. They're nocturnal hunters. You can see them here in this photo. It's probably nighttime because of the flash on the camera. Or it's just like a dark place, maybe in like a little conservation thing. But they have very specially adapted eyes. They can see very well in the dark for predators or anything like that. And like I said, they'll use those eyes to see fruits, insects, anything like that they're foraging for anything that would try to kill them. But sadly, the people of Madagascar actually have a bit of a superstition towards eyes. They believe that if you see or spot an eye, that it's actually very bad luck. Kind of like how in America we have the superstition of black cats are bad luck. It's kind of similar to that, and a lot of times they'll actually kill them because of this superstition. So they have very declining populations. But there aren't a whole lot of them. A lot of them they try in different parts of Africa. They've tried like breeding things, breeding projects where they'll get them to kind of pick up the population so there's more of them. And there's a few that are in zoos, but a lot of them are still, they try to keep them in Africa and not necessarily in captivity. And I do believe that is the end of our little presentation here. I hope you guys did enjoy the presentation, but the fun is not over. I have one more thing lined up for us. This will be about another hour or so. I have a little nature documentary that we're going to watch. It's going to be really fun. I love nature documentaries. I had to find one that wasn't like BBC or something like that where we'd get copyrighted. I think we'll be okay to watch this. I hope so. Please, Twitch, don't ban me. Please, please, please. But here, let me go find it real quick. Let me find it real quick. There we go. Alright, here it is. Let me pause the music here. We'll probably move ourselves right here. I'll move the camera back later. But I can probably just do that. There we go. We can actually probably go over to this one. Since this is our reactions thing. And let me put it up here. There we go. Alright, now we can react to this. Let me quickly fix the volume here. Alright, here we go, guys. Little nature documentary, Uncharted, the beautiful world of the Amazon. Here we go.
The Amazon rainforest, the planet's impenetrable green sea. Within these remote depths runs the Las Piedras River, which forms part of the longest tributary to the Amazon.
I hope that's not too loud for you guys.
In the jungles surrounding the headwaters of the river, life remains much as it has done for thousands of years.
I love watching nature documentaries. Uncharted Amazon.
Giants like these form a dense canopy, shutting out the lights on those who dwell below. But within these dark halls, life can be found in such extraordinary abundance that only a fraction of its members
And that's a
have
hell
been
no.
counted.
I would never be seen. What? Oh, leeches. Oh gosh. Hummingbirds. Okay, that's peaceful. Those things can live to like 90 years old. Those parrots.
And this is with good reason, because survival below the treetops is often to remain hidden.
Bro, I don't blame them. There's some freaky stuff. Bro,
And for much of her
spiders,
life,
you'd never catch
this
me on the
creature will
jungle.
remain so, curled up amongst dense tangles of vegetation, and rarely moving during the day.
Oh, that's a sloth.
Her local name is
three-toed
Osito
sloth.
Oro, which means tiny golden bear.
Or no, it's four-toed sloth.
But while she might be both tiny and golden, she is certainly not a bear. She is a silky anteater.
Wait, this is an ant? I thought it was a four-toed
But don't
sloth.
let appearances fool you. The claws on her front feet can inflict serious wounds on anything that might try to harm her.
Is it like a lesser anteater, I'm assuming?
They are her only defense when she leaves her hiding places in search of food.
Are they called like Moldugas? I was gonna say Maldugas. What are they called? Lesser anteaters. They have a name for them. Lesser anteater. Tamandua. That's what I'm looking for. Yeah, tamanduas are like they're called lesser anteaters, but they're called tamanduas.
Tiny golden bear. But while she might be both tiny and golden, she is certainly not a bear. She is a silky anteater.
Silky anteater. Interesting. It
But
must
don't
be
let
of the
appearances
species
fool you.
of lesser
The claws on
anteater.
her front feet can inflict serious wounds on anything that might try to harm her.
Makes sense. I mean, geez, there's some That's some crazy
They are
stuff
her
out in
only
animals.
defense when she leaves her hiding places in search of food.
ASMR.
She's sniffing out her prey, and being an anteater, this consists of ants and termites. But in order to find them, she has to overcome the considerable challenge of staying awake.
Staying awake. That's interesting. I like koalas.
Once she's mustered up the strength to focus on the task at hand, she finds a termite nest.
That
and decides
is
that it isn't quite the kind
interesting.
she's looking for.
It's in a tree instead of on the floor.
Keeping up appearances is important too, and a good grooming regime is sure to please a mate.
I don't know, how clean are those animals?
But we still don't know how silky anteaters manage to find each other in such a vast wilderness. In fact, nobody knows much about them at all.
Intriguing. They don't quite look like a tamandua. They don't
But
have
not
that.
all animals avoid predation by hiding away in those hard-to-reach places.
They don't have
Many hide.
quite the same. The facial doesn't quite look the same as what it would normally. A normal anteater would look like. It still kind of got the shape, but a tamandua looks more like those big anteaters you'll see in Africa.
Nobody knows
with
much
the big
about them at
termite
all.
nests. You probably gotta talk a lot.
But not all animals avoid predation by hiding away in those hard-to-reach places. Many hide in plain sight. At this scale, nothing is quite what it seems.
Grasshopper. Is that grasshopper or like a... No, it's not a katydid. It's definitely
Down to
a
the
grasshopper.
finest detail, these insects are masters of camouflage.
Mantis.
Leaf-mimicking katydids copy the vein structures of the
It
leaves
is a
that they live on.
katydid. I was right. Okay, I wasn't sure.
Some stick insects even mimic the
It kind
particular
of the
species
katydids
of
kind of look similar to grasshoppers, so I wasn't sure, but I was pretty sure because of the long. See how, like, for instance, this stick bug has these long, feelers or whatever, antenna. That's why I was pretty sure it might be a katydid. Or it was either that or a grasshopper, but I wasn't sure. Maybe the legs, the way the legs looked, weren't quite the same. Yeah, you can tell.
At this scale,
It's not
nothing is
quite
what
the
it
same,
seems.
the way the legs are and everything. And the antenna are a little longer.
Down
Definitely
to the
katydid.
finest detail, these insects are
I don't know
masters
if
of
grasshoppers
camouflage.
are even in the Amazon. Katydids definitely are, though. Yeah. That makes more sense.
Leaf-mimicking katydids copy the
I don't
vein
even know
structures of the leaves that
grasshoppers.
they live on.
Blend in like that. Like mantises do.
Some stick insects even mimic the particular species of moss and lichen that tend to grow from their favored trees.
Yeah, I thought it was cool that they could also do lichen.
Some, like this arachnid, are predators, and others will become prey.
Whoa.
But
That
all
thing's got
are striving
crazy
to
long
remain
legs.
undetected.
Is that a grasshopper? Because that's definitely not a katydid. Maybe there are grasshoppers. And
That tend to grow from their favored trees.
interesting.
Some, like this arachnid, are predators, and others will become prey. But all are striving to remain undetected.
I don't know. The way the antenna look, maybe that is still a katydid. They're really long. Grasshoppers are a lot shorter, the way their antennae are. Oh gosh, that owl was blind in one eye. You could tell because it was all fogged up. That or the lighting maybe made it look like that.
While many animals avoid predators and catch prey by copying the designs of others, these moths have an entirely different strategy. They hide
I
amongst the
wondered
hairs
that
of
was a
sloths
sloth.
and can't be found anywhere else.
As a sloth moth, yeah, I know what these are.
The sloth's dense hair supports a variety of algae that help it to
I
blend
think they
in with
lay
the
their
surrounding
eggs in their
jungle.
poop. That or it's moth flies. I think maybe
And they
it's a
move
fly.
so slowly and infrequently that they're rarely spotted by predators.
This is a three-toed sloth. One of the types of three-toed sloth. It's very similar the way that not Tamandua looked. The silk-eating anteater. Not quite the same though. The claws definitely look different. Where are the gains? My guy getting his workout for the day.
In fact, three-toed sloths spend between 15 and 20 hours of each day fast asleep.
Yep, kind of like koalas. I know too much about these animals already. It's a problem.
Their leafy diet is simply too poor in calories to keep them going for much longer.
Kind of similar to koalas again. I thought the fur though looked like
Perfect place
one.
for moths to make a
I
permanent
think those
home.
moths lay their eggs in the poop. It's either that or there's a type of
But
fly.
hiding away and living the solitary life isn't the only way to stay safe in the jungle. Sometimes, sticking together can work just as well.
Ants.
The tip of this young tree is just soft enough for the probing mouthparts
no,
of these
that's
tree
not an
hoppers
ant.
to break through and feed on the sap that runs through its veins.
Wait, what are these?
Aside from a thin shell, but hiding away and living the solitary life
I thought they were
isn't
ants
the
for a
only
second.
way to stay
but
safe
maybe-
in the jungle.
Okay, one of those is an ant, the other
Sometimes,
ones aren't.
sticking together can work just as well. The tip of this young tree is just soft enough for the probing mouthparts of these tree hoppers to break
Tree
through
hoppers, good.
and feed on the sap that runs through its veins. Aside from a thin shell, the tree hoppers are completely defenseless.
There's an ant,
protection.
yeah.
They've forged an unlikely alliance. These ants are their defenders, and
Huh.
they're paid for their services.
Oh.
Luckily for the tree hoppers, their honeydew, or sugary excrement, is a sufficient reward.
That's disturbing.
The ants keep the tree hoppers free of mites with specialized cleaning mouthparts.
Huh. They're like shoe shiners.
But in this jungle, there's always a little more happening than first meets the eye. There are actually two kinds of tree hoppers here, and one is up to no good. Those with darker shells rarely produce the liquid that feeds their ant protectors, but they want to stay clean all the same.
Huh.
So when they detect an ant ready to clean a lighter colored tree hopper, they simply climb on top
Ah.
and prevent the ant from feeding until they're clean.
Interesting.
But they're not the only ones up to no good.
Huh.
Smaller ant species
what's up,
that
Nim?
can't offer the tree hoppers any services in return
We're watching a nature documentary. You missed my amazing PowerPoint presentation that you can watch later on YOLO VODs. Gosh dang it, my water bottle's tight. Trust me, you want to watch the presentation. It's good. I felt like I was like Steve Irwin. It's about all different kinds of animals, things that a lot of people don't know about. There's one animal that probably most people will know that's on it, but yeah, mostly the presentation was about animals that a lot of people don't know. There's some really cool facts though. It contains some of my favorite animals. I'm really into animals. But right now we're watching a little nature documentary. Like, cheetahs are on there, peregrine falcons. I'll save you the last one, and I won't tell you what my favorite animal is. Honey badgers are on there, some different animals like that. You'll probably know some of them. Some people know what some of them are, but some of them are a little bit more obscure. But I list a bunch of facts about them. You'll think it's cool. And I want to do more. I'm going to do more of the presentations. But like I said, we're watching a little nature documentary right now. Because I thought it'd kind of go along with it since I didn't know how long the presentation was going to be. So I wanted the stream to be at least pretty lengthy. So we're just chilling watching this nature documentary right now. Alright.
But they're not the only ones up to no good. Smaller ant species that can't offer the tree hoppers any services in return are on the lookout for an unguarded tree hopper and an easy meal.
It's still disturbing.
Each day, billions of these tiny leafcutter ants embark on a journey, migrating through the forest along miniature highways.
I wondered if we'd see leafcutter ants.
The daily commute is coordinated through a powerful yet invisible chemical messaging system.
They have huge mandibles.
However, the journey to work can be a hazardous one, and falling leaves often create traffic problems. But these ants are prepared for almost anything.
I don't think that's going to stop ants.
Specialized workers are deployed to remove the blockades. It
Ants
only
are the
takes a
worst.
handful of ants a few hours to clear a full coating of leaves from the forest floor.
Ants are the worst.
Workers
They get
are all
into
heading for a
everything.
harvesting tree. They're after its leaves, but to get them, they must scale a height comparable to a human scaling the highest mountain in North America. Soon after hitting the summit, they begin to remove segments from the tree's leaves, using jaws that vibrate thousands of times per
fine.
second.
So what that actually
Then
sounds like?
they must embark on the 100-meter journey back to the nest.
Was it the honeydew that did you in? Are you on your phone?
Despite
It
the
probably is
distance,
a lot
the whole
smaller.
commute only
It's probably
takes
a lot
each
better
ant
to
about an
watch
hour.
on a desktop.
Efficiency is key. And once the jaws of workers become blunted, they'll carry the leaves cut by their little sisters instead. At the surface, their home doesn't look like much, but below lies an underground labyrinth of tunnels stretching 8 meters beneath the forest floor. Home to a colony with
You
as
can
many
just watch
members
the
as the
VOD
city of
later
London.
on like a desktop.
Here in the bowels of the earth, they store their precious leaves and meticulously tend to fungus gardens that sprout from the decomposing vegetation.
I can switch to my other scene.
The tiny, white, rounded fruiting bodies of the fungus are used to feed the entire colony.
Also, I don't know how you're awake at like 1 a.m., dude. I'd be dying.
Far from the darkness of the forest
I've realized
floor,
that if I don't go to bed before 11, I just don't
sun.
function.
This is the engine room of the jungle, where giant trees capture sunlight to fuel their growth.
I guess everyone's different. Everyone functions on different levels of sleep, and I just need like 8 hours where I'm dying. There's something about nature documentaries, it's just like so peaceful.
Except for the snaking waters of the Las Piedras River, these rainforest treetops stretch unbroken for hundreds of miles.
I'm also just way too intrigued by animals. For some reason, I don't know why I have an affinity towards watching nature documentaries, but I've gotten way back into it, and it's a problem. I spend way too much time watching these.
Here in this skyward realm exists the greatest diversity of life in the rainforest, and so on Earth itself.
To be fair, I don't know how people can function on like 5 hours of sleep. That's like, you're on some crack if you're doing that. There's no way I could function on 5 hours of sleep. I'm 20. So I guess young, but not that young. Guess it depends on what you label as old or young.
The calls of red
That is true.
travel for miles across the treetops and stake a group's claim to a small patch of trees, where they will socialize and feed on young leaves. Troops of brown capuchin monkeys will range far throughout the forest and will eat almost anything they can get their hands on.
I've never heard someone call a capuchin monkey a capuchin. I wonder if that's like a Europe. No, he's American, you can tell. Do people call them capuchin monkeys? I did go to college, actually. I graduated when I was 18, because I had to do I had to redo it a year. But I would have been 17, if not for that. But yeah, I was 18 when I did that. What? Economies? Is that what you're talking about? I don't normally answer questions like that, but... Also, to be fair, in response to the whole 21 thing, I don't really, if I'm being honest, alcohol really, to me, just doesn't... I just don't have any affinity towards drinking it. Government? Well, to be fair, I don't think most people from the West prefer communist governments. How did this go from watching nature documentaries to asking me about whether I like certain kinds of governments?
Whether it's flowers, insects, fruit, or even small mammals.
Let's just continue watching this.
The The capuchins are often tailed by hundreds of smaller squirrel monkeys, who will
Nah,
pick up
that's just
whatever
not
they
right.
leave behind.
It's capuchin, not capuchin. No one
This
says
unlikely
capuchin.
alliance was forged to reduce the risk that a single
If that's how they're
individual
actually
would be
supposed
picked
to be
off by an
pronounced,
eagle.
I'd be surprised.
The largest of the monkeys here are the spider monkeys. And they are constantly on the move. They follow well-trodden routes that track the shortest distance
Bro, imagine
between
you're the
growing
monkey
trees.
and you just fall and you're screwed.
During times of plenty, as many as 100 individuals can be found traveling together for a short time.
Bro, that's way too scary. You're living life on the edge. If you screw up and don't
When
hold
small
on to
groups
a branch
move,
right, you're
new
screwed.
friends are made,
Or the
and
lamp,
new
or
groups
the
are formed.
branch breaks. That's pretty dense foliage though, so it's probably unlikely you'd fall.
When food is plentiful, spider monkeys will select the best bits from each fruit and drop the rest.
Hmm. Interesting.
But it rarely goes to waste, as peccaries that roam the forest floor will consume much of what's been dropped.
Alright. To be fair, it's 1 a.m. It's probably a good thing that you go get some sleep. You can watch the VOD later.
To balance off their diet, collared peccaries seek out special places from which to feed. The thick mud in this hole
Alright, bye them.
contains unusually high concentrations of salt, a rare treat so far from the sea.
Mud, great. Yeah, I'm sure that tastes great. You do you, peccaries.
Small mineral licks like this one are dotted throughout the forest.
Gosh, I can
And
hear
for many
bugs.
animals,
It feels like there's one in
They're
my
like
ear.
miniature oases in a nutrient-poor desert.
Red squirrels? I didn't know red squirrels lived in the Amazon. Huh. Is that a red squirrel? I
Throughout
can't
the
tell the
day,
tufts on their
A
ears.
variety of visitors come and go. Some, like this red brocket deer, are
That is some
particularly
interesting
wary,
antlers.
as they know that jaguars hunt here too.
I was gonna say, I wonder if we see jaguars. Huh. Yeah, I don't think those antlers are really gonna do a whole lot. They're pretty stubby. I mean, they probably would. I mean, they're kind of like spears. More so than North
Spix's
American
guans
deer.
spend most of the day close by the lick, and occasionally venture down to pluck insects from the clay walls. But at the slightest sign of danger, they'll sound the alarm
They almost
and let
look like
others know that
turkeys.
it's time for them to leave.
At least this part, anyways. Ah, interesting. What is that? That's not... Is that a capybara? I'm assuming that's gotta be a capybara.
The erosive force of the Las Piedras River has gradually unearthed a salty deposit on its bank.
I see.
This is
That's
the last
interesting.
remains of an ancient ocean that dried up many millions of years ago. Macaws flock here from tens of miles around.
That is a lot. That's probably great to wake up to if you live around there. And it's like
They
roosters
gather
on
in the
crack.
trees and wait for
And
a
there's
brave
hundreds of
individual
them.
to fly down to the lick and reassure them that the area is free from predators. Once a few make it down safely, the rest decide to follow.
They're like ugly, but they're pretty at the same time. I don't know how to feel about them.
Not only does eating the clay provide
I don't know,
salt,
maybe pretty is not the
but it
word.
also
I don't
helps to
really
neutralize the
use that
toxic
word.
chemicals found in many of
Cool
the
looking,
unripe fruits in
but
the macaw
they're
diet.
still at the same time ugly in a way. They're fake.
For the macaws, these visits to the local clay lick are more than just feeding opportunities. They're places where
licking
mates can be
clay.
found and disputes can be settled.
Delicious. The social gathering of the century. Are those macaws? Or
It's
were
nesting
those
season,
others?
and high in the branches of a
Parrots.
chihuahua tree, two macaw parents have enlarged a natural hollow.
That is very kind of a tight squeeze.
Inside is a hungry chick, who now after several months of confinement, is beginning to survey
Huh.
the world outside.
I guess that works. They're not very ugly. They very much look like their parents. Straight away. They don't have that typical, like, chick look. I don't know how old
For
that one
now,
is.
his mother and father must deliver his daily dose of clay, but in a few weeks' time,
They just
he'll
eat
be ready
clay?
to fly the nest and follow his parents.
Why? It's also just so random. Daily doses of clay? That's a pretty big... It says... Wait, hold up. No, I guess
For
we
other
didn't see the
animals,
chick.
it simply
I
isn't
thought that was
possible
the
to
chick.
carve
Never
salt
mind.
from the earth, but they require it just the same. Like the
Interesting. Who would
macaws,
have guessed that
these
salt
butterflies spend much of their time high in the canopy,
was
but
so
every now and
important?
again, they too must ascend.
Huh. Interesting. Whoa, they look almost like leaves.
The butterflies congregate on damp earth at the banks of a lake, where the waters have receded and deposited salts and other nutrients behind them.
Huh. That's interesting. I guess it's because the other food doesn't really have a lot of that in it. I guess I never would have thought about that.
But for butterflies, life in the rainforest can be hazardous at best.
Well, yeah, that's, yeah. Are we gonna see the long-legged spider, or... Which one are we gonna see?
Golden orb spiders are Goliaths.
I
But so too are
literally
blue
was about to say, if we don't see those long, I'm not sure what those were. I can't remember what they're called. I know what the name of them are. I've seen them before, but I was gonna say if they don't show that, they're gonna show the golden orb weaver spider, because I'm pretty sure those live in the Amazon. I love these things. Their silk is way different than anything. They have like kind of that golden tinge, hence the golden orb weaver spider, and the way they weave their webs, I think, is a little bit different too.
Golden orb spiders are Goliaths. But
Oh
so
yeah,
too
those
are
things are
blue morpho
freaking
butterflies.
huge. They're like the size of your face. They're scary as hell. Bro, you tell me that ain't scary, you're on some
The
crack,
spider
bro. I
approaches
mean, they're
with
cool,
caution,
but they're...
wary of the butterfly's powerful
Bro, I don't want
wings.
one of those trying to
But butterflies this large
crawl on me.
don't stay stuck for long.
Hey, you gotta be the opportunist hunter.
While
Snails.
spiders may pose a nuisance to some, there's one animal here who's been actively seeking them out.
What is that? Sounds like wings.
This hummingbird is making her first nest,
A
strung
hummingbird.
together with spider silk and hung from the tip of a leaf.
Huh.
On
Interesting.
each trip, she can carry a single blade of grass or a tangled strand of spider silk. It takes her weeks to finish.
That is horribly tedious. Why? Huh.
She must remain constantly vigilant, as other hummingbirds may try to take an empty nest for themselves.
Fair enough.
Once she's ready, she lays a single white egg, smaller than a fingernail.
That's it? Smaller than a fingernail? Well, I guess they are small.
She may seem exposed, but her nest is positioned so far
What do
from
the
the
chicks
palm
look like
stem
when they come out?
that only the lightest predator could attack it without falling to the ground.
One egg, that's it? How do they survive? Maybe they do normally lay more than one, and that one just happened to lay one egg.
A week later, a tiny hatchling has emerged.
How old is it? That's pretty big for something that came out of an egg the size of a fingernail. I mean, I guess they are kind
Now
of
she
curled
must
up.
work twice as hard.
They're not
as
very
she's
big,
feeding
I
her,
guess.
too.
The camera angle kind of makes them look bigger, but that thing's probably very tiny. Because that thing's probably like that big at the most, so it's probably like that big, maybe? I mean, you can look at it, I guess, comparatively on the leaf. The thing's very small. Huh. Interesting. I wonder how long hummingbirds live.
But the dry season is coming to an end.
Hmm.
Her work will soon be put to the test, and her chick's life will depend on it.
Interesting.
The temperature has been rising for days, and the air has become saturated with moisture. The creatures of the rainforest can feel it.
Hmm. A turtle? Well, that turtle's probably fine.
The rainforest isn't called the rainforest for nothing. In the Amazon, storms hit with a fury like few other places on Earth.
Fair enough. There is a lot of water, especially considering they're on the Amazon River.
The nest is rocked by wind and hammered by rain. The chick must cling to the fibers that his mother so carefully arranged.
Yeah, that thing's super precariously made, so it's probably not a good thing that there's a storm coming through. It is true, it is a test to the mother.
Dawn sees the end of the downpour, but the storm's effects can still be felt.
Bro,
The
my
mother
ears
hummingbird
itching.
returns to find her chick gone
That's
and the nest empty.
upsetting.
In her distress, she checks for him over and over.
Yeah, that thing's dead. That bird,
He
even
may
if
have
it...
survived, but having been blown from the nest during the night, he's now alone in the rainforest.
It survived?
He doesn't yet know how to find food for himself,
I'm surprised it can
so
barely
she must
fly.
find him quickly, or else he will starve.
I guess, can it make a call? It can kind of fly.
Their calls to each other sound out across the forest.
They eat, like, nectar from flowers, so I wonder how that works.
And the two are reunited once
That's
again.
lucky for that thing. It can kind of hover, I guess. Maybe it feeds like a milk or something? Like a pigeon would? Or maybe it does feed it nectar somehow, just like a backwash kind of nectar. Like a penguin would chewed up fish. But not. Whoa, that's an interesting way to make a nest. That does not leave very much for air. Gosh, baby birds, the worst kind of children. Cry and cry until you get food, and until you get me that food, I will cry and ruin your life. And the parents just have to deal with it.
The rains have brought new growth
Spores.
to the jungle.
fungus. A lot of those
But
aren't
they've
even
also
in the
brought destruction.
rainforest when they do those.
The Las Piedras River is bursting its banks.
They're actually in mobile
Entire
rooms.
trees are carried
Like
away
a time
with the current.
lapse. Well, I guess it is a time lapse technically either way. But it's just not practical to do a time lapse out in the wild because of rain and stuff like that. They just do it in a controlled environment. Those almost look like potatoes or something.
The swelling river surges through the forest.
Interesting. Dang, that spider be clinging on the
For
line.
those too small to outpace the flood, the only way is upwards.
Bro, hell no. That's like a millipede. One of those a millipede. A lot of those are centipedes. Some of them are, yeah, that's a millipede. The other ones are centipedes, I think. Bro, that's disturbing.
Every available inch becomes saturated with life.
Bro, hell no. You won't catch. I don't even care if it was $1 million. I won't put my hand on that tree. Not because I'm scared of them, but because they just feel disturbing. Way too many of them.
Strange forms are forced from the darkness.
What in the world? The editing. Is that a slug or a snail or something? That's like a glass. Is that a glass spider? Is that what you call that? Or are they just babies and they look like that? I can't. What is all this panning?
For many, high ground is nothing more than a few floating leaves.
So many like translucent insects.
The search for escape is constant.
Huh.
In such crowded conditions, predators are spoiled for choice.
That is true. Oh my gosh, that is
Isolated
a
on their
lot
treetop arcs, it could be weeks before the river recedes
of
and the
ants.
creatures of the
I think those
forest
are
touch
ants.
solid ground once again.
Ants or termites or something. A little tiny frog.
Many were too slow to escape the rising water.
Yeah, that thing's
Surface tension
dead.
will keep millipedes afloat for a short time,
That's a millipede.
but if they begin to struggle, their legs break through.
Oh no, yeah, that thing's dead.
Attempts at escape only serve to seal their doom.
Yeah. Yikes. Well, that's slightly unfortunate. You know, the people on the documentary, they were like, yeah, this is life. We won't help them.
The arteries of the jungle are now springing back to life.
What next?
As the waters continue to rise, many creatures once isolated in pools and lakes are now free to move about the jungle.
That is true. Is that like a soft-shell turtle or something? Something like a soft-shell turtle, not quite a soft-shell turtle, that's a specific species, but... A frog. I can't tell what species it is.
Fish are searching for a safe place to lay their eggs, and predators are ready to cut them off.
That's a frog? No. I can't tell because it's a baby. I want to say it's a croc. And not an alligator. It's not rounded, it's more pointy, so I'm assuming that's definitely a crocodile, right? Like a Nile crocodile? Is my assumption.
A new chorus is sounding through the depths.
What?
A family of giant river otters.
I was gonna say, is that an otter or what is?
Are also here to take advantage of the fish to be
now.
found in the swelling streams. And just as well, because this family has 3 hungry cubs to provide for.
Otters are more vicious than you think. You think they're cute and then they bite your hand off and you don't think they're so cute.
But with so many mouths to feed, the otters can't stay in the streams forever.
Don't ever think you could have an otter as a pet. They will bite your hand. You will get an entry. Man, this is so peaceful. I feel like I could fall asleep watching this.
They spend most of their time in vast lakes hidden deep in the forest.
Not the most insightful documentary I've ever seen, but it's pretty okay. This one.
Half of giant otter cubs don't make it through their first year.
Well, I mean,
but these are the lucky ones.
You're contending with a lot here.
They have made it past a crucial stage in their lives when they're most vulnerable to predators.
I mean, even adults are vulnerable to predators. You got now crocodiles in the Amazon. I don't think there's Amazonian crocodiles.
Nevertheless, they're still young enough to get away with stealing a fish from mom, rather than hunting it for themselves.
Sure, the mom appreciates that.
The cubs' jaws still aren't strong enough to dispatch a fish quickly, so they have to keep a careful grip. Sometimes, a live one can be a little startling.
Man, they are just eviscerating that fish. Yikes.
Other animals stay close behind the otters and pick up their scraps.
Is that like a crane? I'm assuming? Some kind of crane?
But they aren't welcome everywhere.
Yeah, it's definitely a crane, I'm pretty sure.
With full bellies,
Yellow-breasted
there's plenty of
warble?
time for play. In a few months,
is that even what a warble looks like? Yellow-breasted warble. Yellow-breasted warbler. No, that's definitely not a yellow-breasted warbler. In the slightest. Definitely not. Maybe it's a yellow-breasted bunting, but even then, that doesn't really look... I can't tell what that is. I didn't think it was a warbler. That was more of a shot in the dark with that one.
Will reach their adult size at 2 meters long. But for now, they must still be careful not to stray too far from their parents. For these waters are home to another top predator.
Mm-hmm.
Male black caiman are highly
Ah,
territorial,
caiman.
and this 5-meter-long individual is a new arrival
Right.
at the
They
lake.
wouldn't be Nile crocodiles. That's what I was thinking. They can't be Nile crocodiles or
The
caiman.
current resident, a smaller male,
Yeah, that's probably
is
what that
well
small
aware
thing was.
and arches his back as a
Maybe.
signal of his claim.
Or some kind of caiman.
The new, much bigger male responds in kind, showing that he won't back off so easily.
Huh.
As the caiman move in, they size each other up. But the smaller resident male wisely backs off, and the intruder succeeds in claiming these hunting grounds for himself.
Yeah, it is what it is.
Some of these rainforest lakes are many hundreds of years old, but gradually, vast mats of floating vegetation begin to choke the surface. The lake bottom grows shallower as it's filled with dead leaves, and the forest moves in to reclaim the land. For now, this lake is a haven for wildlife of all kinds. These prehistoric-looking hoatzins find safety on the perches at the edge of the lake, where the predators of the forest floor struggle to reach them.
Alright, I think this is probably a good place to call it. I like this nature documentary, but it's probably not the best I've ever seen. I'd like to see the underwater one, so I think in another stream that we do this, we're gonna watch that. But I hope everyone did enjoy this stream here. I'll go to the normal camera view. There we go. I hope everyone did enjoy the stream today. I had a really fun time. I really like learning about animals, so I wanted to find a way to be able to do that. And I did. And I'm really glad I did it. And it was really fun. I mean, I know there wasn't like a whole lot of people here, but I know a lot of people will see it afterwards. If you guys didn't know, I do have a VODs channel. You could be possibly watching it on there now. If you are, say hi in the comments. But I hope you guys do enjoy the VOD if you're watching it afterwards, and I hope you did enjoy the stream if you're in here live. And you can catch me most weekdays at 5 CST. That's normally when I start, 5 or 6 CST. Somewhere between that. I normally like to start before 6, so probably any time before 6, and I'll definitely be live. You can check the Twitter to make sure if I'm live or not. I'll always say if I'm going live or not before the stream starts. But like I said, I really hope you guys do enjoy, did enjoy this stream, and I'm gonna go hang out with the family, a jam, and yeah, I will see you guys next week on Monday for the Learning All About Me stream and a bunch of other stuff I'll be doing that week. I'll post the schedule on Monday like usual. Obviously, things are subject to change if things happen, but I'll always let you know right before the stream goes live what's happening. Bye, guys.